Well, hello and welcome to Perfectly Twisted with Nicole Eggert and Dave Palais. This is episode 81, Dave. 81.
Is it right? 81.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that. Look at us, 81 and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
good deal. You look all Christmassy. Are you going to a Christmas party today?
I'm going to get radiation treatment. That's what I'm going.
Not exactly. Not a
trying
good party.
to put some color back in my half dead body here.
Oh my God. I almost said, look at you for going out around the holidays, and then it would have looked really, really bad.
No, actually I do have a busy day, but yep, radiation is up next. So anyways, on to better topics, shall we?
Good deal.
We have a super fun guest today, somebody who I adore. He's a writer, director, producer, Emmy Award winning. I mean, he's done it all, and so much fun TV and movies that we all watch and we all are very familiar with. And I was lucky enough to work with. So I want to introduce Jon Kroll.
Hey, Nicole. Hello.
Hey.
And Jon is joining us all the way from New Zealand. Lucky duck.
Well, luck is the residue of design, and I had designs to change my life, and here I am on the other side of the world.
I love that. And how long have you been there?
2 years. We just celebrated our second Xanniversary.
Xanniversary.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. Such a beautiful place.
Do you mind me asking, Jon, why did you choose New Zealand? The reason I asked that question is my sister travels around the world, and she came back and said, I'm ready to move to New Zealand. It's the one place she picked.
Well, the simple reason is because it's awesome. The other reason is it's just a place that I'd gone to for many, many years with my longtime partner. And she and I just decided at one point, let's change our latitude a bit. We didn't know we'd change it quite this much, but we've never looked back. It's been the best decision we ever made, besides choosing each other.
I love that. I love that so much. So Jon and I worked on a movie called Amanda and the Alien, Dave, and it was Jon wrote it and directed it, and I recently just watched it because I hadn't seen it in so many years, and so many people ask me about it. It's one of the things I've done that just people all the time ask me about Amanda and the Alien. It's wild.
Well, the recent resurgence has been kind of amazing because we made it 30 years ago when Nicole was 4 and I was 14. No, we made it 30 years ago, and it did very well when it came out. It was actually Showtime's highest rated original movie of the year. And it played in a couple of festivals, and it got some heat, and then it kind of disappeared. And a few years ago, some guys from an outfit called American Genre Film Archive called me up and said, we want to do a Blu-ray release. And I said, is Blu-ray still a thing? And they said, we do it, and we release like cult genre films. And I said, do you actually have the rights to this, or are you just some pirates? And they sent me a thing that showed they had the rights and asked me to do a commentary for it. Nicole, I don't know if you listened to the commentary when you rewatched it, but you definitely, I just gave 0 Fs about the whole thing, and just because I figured no one will ever listen to this, so you might enjoy it. But what led to its resurgence partially was a lot of people started talking about it, particularly on the site Letterboxd. And they actually quoted, do you know what people are saying about it? And they quoted a Letterboxd member named Sally Jane Black, who called it a feminist masterpiece and gave all the reasons why. So I wanted to give her a shout out, because it's like that. They quoted that and someone who called it the most 90s movie ever made. And it just, if you go on there and read the comments, there's some haters, but for the most part, people are making lots of paprika jokes. If you recall, paprika was the alien sexual stimulant that got them going. And fun fact, it was oregano in the original short story by the great science fiction author Robert Silverberg, but Showtime wanted me to change it from oregano because of the drug connection that seemed like it was a metaphor for marijuana. Whereas I guess paprika doesn't matter. Like in 1994, that mattered. I don't know.
That's really funny. I know my whole life, every time I cook with paprika, that's all that comes to my mind. And it's one of my kids' favorite things. And I'm just like, I look at her a little sideways. I'm like, okay, let's do the paprika chicken. Yep. She loves it.
It's the paprika thing with Amanda and the Alien is one of those IFK YK kind of things. It's like once you see Amanda and the Alien, you'll never look at paprika the same again.
Facts. Facts. It was such, I watched it. I was like, I don't even know that person. I don't even know that girl that was in that movie. Do you feel the same way about yourself? Am I the only one that you're like, I don't even know that person from those days?
Well, I always like to make go big or go home decisions, and I see those all across that film, and some of them are jokes that are just awful now, and some of them kind of totally land. I love the people who talk about it who say this looks like it should be an after school special, but they swear and have sex a lot. And there is something like there's an innocence, but they drop F-bombs all the time. And I think you were, coming off of Baywatch and Charles in Charge, you really liked that you could talk shit about people and things. And it was, so yeah, it's kind of a mashup. And so I still have a soft spot for it, but I do cringe at certain parts of it and wish I'd made some different choices.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I laughed at all the jokes. I thought it was so it was so smart and campy and just, I don't know, like the coffee montage of the coffee with the sex, just all the different, I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I felt
a little history. So it was published in Omni magazine in the 70s, and Amanda was a Valley girl. So by the time we made this in the 90s, that just seemed like it was so over, but sort of the hipster coffee culture thing seemed like it was more on point. And so that's why you drive a VW Bug, and it's just kind of this retro coffee drinking person, which has gotten all these 90s comments about it, which is really funny looking it back 30 years later.
Yeah, the coffee scene was so big. I mean, it's still so big, it's just so different, right? Instead of chessboards, there's computer, there's Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's so different now.
And there's some crazy stuff in there. I mean, when I looked at it again in preparation for this important media outreach, when I looked at it again, there's the shot where they go into the diner, which has a full 360 pan, and I just, as a young filmmaker, loved the idea of it, even though it's so sort of self-aware. And a lot of people have commented on that. It's kind of just a silly thing, but the film is filled with silly things. By the way, casting, I want to talk about casting you, because we may not have talked about this ever. So my sort of archetype for this was the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie had come out. And this is pre the series. And so Christy Swanson was like, we're going to get a Christy Swanson type. And the word came down from casting, everybody wants Christy now. She'll never do it in a million years. And someone brought your name up, and I was never, and I can say it now, I was never a regular viewer of either Charles in Charge or Baywatch. And I was like, oh yeah, she's that one who I kind of get it. But then we met, and you were just like, you were just super cool, and you were into it, which I really liked, that you wanted to do something that was off type for yourself. And I just felt you were such a great ally throughout the whole thing, because we had to make it fast. We didn't have a lot of time to do things, and you made lots of great choices throughout the whole thing and came in. You were just an absolute joy to work with. So I thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate that. There was a funny story about that, and I don't think I told you, but I'm going to tell you now. We were having really heavy rains, and I was living out in Malibu at the time, and production had said to me, don't go back home to Malibu tonight. Promise us you're gonna stay in the city because of mudslides and Malibu was shutting down a lot. And I went to Malibu and all the roads were closed in the morning and I had to be to CBS Radford in Studio City at, whatever, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And my boyfriend at the time, I said, you have to get up. You got to get up and you got to figure out a way to get me over the hill and to work. And by God, he did it. He took back roads because he lived in Malibu his whole life. So he knew all these back roads and he got me there. And I was like, I mean, it was... Most people would have called and said, listen, I'm stuck out in Malibu. But I knew that we were on this tight schedule. And I always, it's one thing I will say about myself is I respect people's time and I hate being late and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't know how we took roads and we were like dodging around boulders that had like fallen in these little canyon roads, but he got me there. And,
that's dedication. That's dedication to kids today. Come on, you don't see that kind of dedication.
No.
But, well, the funny thing is we had 18 days to shoot that film, and now you look back and people are shooting films in 10, 12 days. Like that seems luxurious, but at the time it was, how are we ever going to do this? In fact, there was one. Okay, so I was totally comfortable with, but I was very intimidated by Stacy Keach, who of course played the lead investigator. And I grew up with Stacy Keach being the cop in Cheech and Chong. He was like, he was such a cool cat. And I never met him before he showed up for his first day of work. So I just tried to be respectful. And he was fine, but he wasn't like pals. And like the third day, I see he's watching me and he says, you do something really good that John Ford used to do. And I just lost and started laughing. And I said, I don't care what it is, but you just made my day. And he laughed and he said, no, you shoot your rehearsals and sometimes you get the best material then. And I said, Stacy, I shoot my commercials because I'm just trying to make my days. I'm just trying to get all our scenes in. We're doing 50 setups a day. And after that, everything was cool with Stacy.
He's great, right? Like such a legend.
Well, and Michael Dorn I had known from before, and he was looking to do, just like I think you were looking to do anything without a bikini. He was looking to do anything without face makeup on.
Yeah,
because he had done war for so many years at that time.
Yeah, he was so sweet too. What a good guy. It's so funny to watch things back, and I remember every single person, even like background and atmosphere and stuff was all crew.
Yeah, it's the guy who was the gas pumper was our location manager, and we would do that kind of thing all the time. And then Richard Speight Jr., who played Jojo the barista, who had like 3 lines, has become like, he was Unjustified, and he's been on a ton of big shows, and he's got his own big following, and he's become kind of a big thing. Gary Tisch, who was the DP, became a TV showrunner. He ran a whole bunch of shows as a writer and showrunner. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm over here feeling so like unproductive.
Hey, you just produced a big documentary. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yes. But it's like when a project is over, you're like, it's like your life completely, it just is over. It's gone.
Well, especially because neither of us made a fortune on that. Like, you have to go on and find the next job after that. So
yeah. Yes.
But it was a really good time though. And then of course we both went the reality route. You of course doing the legendary series Splash, which there were 2 high diving shows on at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Was yours the one with Kareem and like and somebody really large, and they were the perfect 10 combination? Was it Louis Anderson, right?
Oh, Louis Anderson, and then there was the football player. And Dave, you got to help us with this. Dominic
Sue.
That guy.
Dominic Sue, yeah.
He dove off a high dive. Now those pools are deep as hell, right? He dove off, and he was so heavy that he hit his face on the bottom of the pool.
Wow.
And came out furious. I mean, everybody knows that guy's got a temper. But I mean, he came out bloody and furious and in a rage, and it was yeah, what a trip that show was. Yeah, they had the one show where people were like, they were just getting people to kind of jump off the diving board. And then there was our show where they're like, okay, you're gonna do a double backflip off the 30-meter. And we like went for it. We did it. We like, everybody really put themselves out there.
That was. I think that those two shows kind of cannibalized audiences from each other, because I think they were actually airing the same time or close to it, and of course that happened a lot in the early Wild West days of reality, unscripted, as we like to call it now.
Yes, unscripted.
I love how your show like starts off with some, first of all, thanks a lot for putting me on after the guys who are like saving the world and going to heaven. Like, it's like, how am I going to look good after that?
You're saving the world too with some of your shows.
There you go. So it's like you have these interesting guests, and then like, let's talk housewives. I have to tell you, I did a whole bunch of reality shows, as you know, Amazing Race, Big Brother. I worked with John Cena on American Grid and a bunch of other shows, and it's always an adventure. But I really never went the full docu-soap route, not for any judgment on my part. It just wasn't really my superpowers. But I did get the call to run the original Vanderpump Rules. And I said to the person who called me, who was doing the hiring, it was a very serious call. I said, I just don't think this is my kind of show. And he said, oh no, you would be great at this. And after seeing it, I think they just wanted someone who could handle talent like that. And that's certainly a skill that the people who like that they become talent management exercise. A friend of mine who was involved with Jersey Shore said, we got all the content we need. It's all about managing the talent.
Yeah, and that's not an easy task. When you look back, are you like, what do you feel about Vanderpump Rules? Like, do you wish you had done it, or are you like, phew, I dodged a bullet?
I don't think I dodged a bullet. I just don't think it played to my strengths. Like, in many ways, Amazing Race and some of the other shows I did fueled the fire for what became sort of my calling now, which is more Nat Geo shows. As I think, for the last 5 years, I've run Gordon Ramsay Uncharted, and that show is just, I have to use all the tools from all of my past jobs, because we shoot the episodes very, very quickly in exotic destinations with a lot of moving parts, and you have to make quick decisions really quickly, just like we had to with Amanda and the Alien. I mean, those skills were honed back then, because, later on, if you're doing Big Brother or something, you've got all the time in the world to make your stories, not the editing part, but, there's lots and lots of content coming in. But if you're in an expensive foreign destination with a limited crew, and you have to come away with the content, and there's no rain days, so whether it's just another character, you just have to shoot through it. It's a challenge, and you have to deliver. You have to be able to fight through the rain, just like you did that day in Malibu all those years ago.
Full circle. Yeah. I love Gordon Ramsay. How is he to work with? Because I know he has that persona on TV. Like my 13-year-old, whenever I say anything a little bit aggressive, she's like, okay, Gordon Ramsay. So I always wonder, like, what's he really like? Does he just turn it on, or is he like that all the time?
I will tell you that Gordon Ramsay is the most professional person I've worked with since Nicole Eggert. He comes to play every single day. He works really hard, and he expects everyone else to work hard and be ready. And yeah, if someone's not ready and, screws up, he's not happy about it, and he'll make comments about it. But when things are going well and you're prepared, he just delivers time and time again. And so I always see that show as it's my job to put him in a situation to succeed. And usually that's by finding interesting compelling people who he can interact with who will push back. Because what you don't want is someone who just absorbs whatever he's dishing out and doesn't give back. It's like kind of like improv, everything has to be yes and so casting the people opposite him and finding good people for him to interact with is the key to that show.
Yeah, because also you can't have anybody that's going to crumble really either. I mean, that's like a delicate balance, right?
Well, you can't have someone who's like a fanboy like Dave is over you. It's like we all know your origin story that Dave stalked you all those years.
Oh, no.
You can't have that with Gordon.
I've been running from that.
That doesn't work.
Yeah. Right.
I did my homework, Dave.
You sure did.
I know the reason that you're not in the same room is the restraining order is still in force.
I'm not even in the same county.
Yeah, it runs deep.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I'm a huge fan. Tell me about The Amazing Race, because I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of both Big Brother and The Amazing Race, but The Amazing Race, I figured that's got to be a hell of a show to coordinate and produce.
Yeah,
and get done.
You just have to keep going because it just never stops. And the interesting thing about Amazing Race is and I know they're doing some things differently now, but in the early days, it was a big deal that, they arrived at 2 p.m. so they leave at 2 a.m. And so people seem to think that everyone gets 12 hours of sleep. Well, once the people start arriving, us producers have to interview them and issue time penalties and do all these things and print tomorrow's clues and things that go for 5 or 6 more hours. And then we have to get up for the first teams to be released. So the turnaround for the cast is challenging, but the turnaround for the crew is even more challenging on that because you just have to keep going. And then as soon as you get on a plane, everyone falls asleep.
Everyone passes out dead to the world. Another thing I found interesting about the show is that the contestants always have to stay with a camera crew, right? And so I wonder how that plays into the game, because does it ever is there ever a clash in the contestants turn around and go, well, the camera crew held me up? Do they ever? Because I saw one episode where the contestants just kept going because the camera crew didn't follow them around in a roundabout, and they lost the crew, and they were like, F it, let's go. We're just going without the camera crew. And the other partner's like, no, we're never supposed to leave the crew. We have to stick with the crew. It's part of the rules. And I was like, what happens behind the scenes in a moment like that? What?
The camera crew, they have to stay with their camera crew, and the camera crew is within their rights to just put down their camera and wait for them to come back to them if they don't. Definitely, there have been contestants who have complained about camera crews being too slow. The camera crews are rotated amongst them so that they can't, get too close to anyone, that kind of thing. But the camera crews on Amazing Race are amazing, and they're doing everything that the contestants are doing, but with gear on their backs. I mean, they're carrying all of their gear and all of their personal items on their backs. I mean, we're talking those giant batteries. They're smaller now, but we were shooting on Digibit. Yeah, it's the camera crews are the stars of The Amazing Race. They're the ones who keep up with the cast. And the fact that there are some people who bitch about everything, but the fact that that's less of a factor than you would think is a tribute to those hard working men and women who lug that shit all over the world.
Yeah, and they do a damn good job.
Yeah.
They their shots are amazing. They get all the coverage. It's fantastic.
Well, and the thing to remember is other than the sort of the set pieces, the detours and the roadblocks and stuff, everything is single camera coverage. So it's one camera person who's covering both of them. There's no second camera. So it's that part of it people forget. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's a skill. That is such a skill. I love that. I can't wait for it to come back. Big Brother, do people? Because I figure a lot has to happen when that doesn't make the edit, obviously, because they're there for so long. Did you ever experience anybody get really weird or creepy or freaking out or anything like that? Because they're they don't know what they're signing up for, and then all of a sudden they're in this home like Prez said he did the Celebrity, which is such a shorter version. They're only in there for like 3 or 4 weeks or something, and the actual people are in there like 4 months or something, correct?
82, 83 days, something like that. It may have changed over time. Look, the days in which people get weird on Big Brother are all the days that end with Y. I mean, it is the ultimate rats in a maze psychological experiment, which was sort of why I was attracted to it. I think, I was raised on a commune without television, living with other people. And I truly know that hell is other people, as in other people you're close to. And it's funny because all the fights end up being about food and like silly things, because when you're with someone, you know what it is when you're in a relationship and the bloom is off the rose and every little thing they do drives you insane, and you just look for scabs to pick at. That's what it gets like in the Big Brother house. It's an amazing experience. I relived some of that recently because there's a terrific new book about the history of reality TV called Cue the Sun that came out, and the author interviewed me as well as a rogues gallery of those responsible for the genre, we went through a number of the scenes from those early days, and it was pretty amazing. It was interesting seeing sort of stars emerge from that world from ordinary people. Like there's stars like you who come up with it the old-fashioned way through auditioning and acting, and then suddenly there will be these characters like Richard Hatch on the original Survivor, or evil Dr. Will Kirby from Big Brother 2, or these people who will just, Marcellus from Big Brother 3, who's become a big fashionista. These people will just pop, and they'll come on to become kind of a different kind of star on a very non-traditional path. And I think that was hard for people to accept at first. And now I think it's just accepted that, yeah.
Yeah, it's the norm. I'm just watching Richard on House of Villains.
It's that, that show was pitched to me years ago. The other one that was pitched to me was Loser Island, where you take the first people eliminated off of a bunch of shows and put them there. I think it was Will Kirby who came up with that. Sorry for mentioning it publicly, Will, but you know what? You should still do it.
Yeah, where's Loser Island? I would totally tune into it.
I would too.
Right? Yeah.
When you think about it, just as much effort goes into casting the people who were eliminated first as the people who were eliminated last. They have their characters with stories to tell, and they have not been milked dry like someone who makes it to day 80 on Big Brother.
This is true. This is true. There's a lot of good content left. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna manifest that one. I need new good content.
Nicole, you've done a few of these shows. Is there one would you want to be? I know you love watching them. Would you want to be on a Housewives show? Would you want to be on not just Celebrity but real Big Brother? Would you be into that, or would that be hell for you?
So here's the thing, is that I would love it. And then there's some of them that I absolutely would like freak out, and I know I wouldn't be any good at. So, so like Splash, for instance, the reason I did that show is because my character on Baywatch was a high diver. And so when we would shoot those scenes, I wouldn't even be able to climb up the ladder. I was so scared. I was so terrified. So when they came back and they offered me that, and I would learn how to do it, and it was shooting at the same place that we were shooting the Baywatch high diving stuff, I was like, this is a challenge of a lifetime. Go do it. So that was my reasoning behind it. And, obviously it was in LA, and we would just rehearse all day. And I had sort of still normal life, other than I was throwing myself off a 30-meter platform. And coming home with like bloody noses and black eyes every day. And then there's other ones that I don't think I would be that good at. Like I would love to do Big Brother, but then I know that I would get so homesick. Like I would miss my girls so much that I would like get distracted and like depressed. So,
yeah, it's a tough place for parents, and that was definitely, we had to deal with a lot of parents that miss their kids. But most of the cast are younger and don't have kids in the traditional Big Brother. The closest I came to something like Splash was there was a show that was done in the UK called The Games, which was basically Dancing with the Stars with Olympics. And it's really interesting if you ever get a chance to see the UK version of it. Sporty Spice blew out her knee doing an Olympic vault and had to cancel her tour. Turns out not so sporty after all. So I was charged with developing it for the US market, and we had several people really interested in doing it. Ralph Macchio really wanted to do it. I had a good conversation with him about it, but we couldn't quite put the cast together. We were going to do it for ABC, and it never happened. Who knows, it may someday. But the best thing that came out of that was I met one of the Olympic archery coaches, and my wife's birthday was coming up, and she always talked about how she did archery as a kid. So I got her lessons for her birthday from an Olympic archery coach. She took it up, and she became a champion archer in the 50-plus set and is still shooting today.
Oh, stop.
And that all came out of a reality show that never happened. So you never know what will happen on these things. So the moral is say yes to the universe. I don't know. There is no moral.
No, the craziest things happen. And that's people say, like, why would you do that? And I'm like, when else would you be able to be trained by Olympic divers? Like if I suck and I hate it and I'm out the first week, like whatever, it's over. But the opportunity, like this archery, like you meet these people. This is a chance of a lifetime. It's so many ways. There's so many opportunities. So, I mean, I'm with you on that. I like to say yes, meet these people and like be in the group.
I always think if you have to talk people into doing these shows, it's never the right way in. I did a show for Lifetime, a BBC format called The Week the Women Went. And it was basically all the women leave a town for a week and the men and children fend for themselves. And we found this wonderful town, Yemassee, South Carolina, where we shot it. And it was filled with terrific characters, many of whom I'm still in touch with. And this was 15 years ago. And the mayor of the town sat me down right before they agreed and said, why should we do this? And I said, only you can answer that question. Like, some people want to do these shows because they think it'll lead to opportunities. Some people want to do it because they want to get famous. And some people just, like making TV shows. It's fun to make a TV show if it's done with people who know what they're doing, are mutually respectful, and do it right. They move forward with it. And the mayor just passed away recently, I found out, but it's a lovely town and a great group of people. We had a lot of fun working with them on that project.
Yeah, you kind of have to be in it for the experiment, like for the experience, the experiment, and like just to really get into it because, like some people want the exposure, and we had one of those on Splash, and she would get up there and she wouldn't do anything. She was like, no, I'm not jumping. I'm not diving. And then some days she just wouldn't even show up at all. And they're like, we can't find her. She hasn't returned our calls in days. And I'm like, yeah, I don't blame her. But yeah, you have to be in it too.
And you have to cast your crew in the same way that you cast your cast. So not all crew are right for the right cast. I had someone who started as my assistant and came up through the system and, got to be a really good storyteller, and she was doing Siesta Key. And when I got when I got Uncharted, I said, all right, it's time to come back to the nest, little birdie. This is the show I was made to do, and you're going to have a great time doing it. And she said, no, I love my drama on Siesta Key, and I'm vegetarian, so I can't eat half the things that you eat on that show. So I don't want to travel the world with you. I want to do Siesta Key. And that was the right show for her. And I probably pushed harder than I should have, and then realized, no, she's making the right decision for herself. And yet we find people who on Uncharted, it's a very small crew that travels the world together, and everyone has each other's backs, because you can't have any weak links on a show like that when you've got a small traveling crew.
Yeah, people don't realize that too, that the crew are in it more and deeper than the cast. You got to be committed. Same with Survivor, right? Those crews, they're out there in the trenches, in the environment. They are out there in the weather.
Yeah, that's a massive crew though. I've done those shows too, where you have 200-300 people that you have to oversee. And the problem with doing those shows is it really becomes a personnel management job, and you lose connection with the creative. So when you've got 200-300 people, there's someone who's always sleeping with someone else on the crew, leading to some sort of HR issue. There's someone else having a drug problem. Like when you have that many people, there's always going to be those kinds of problems. At least if you've got a crew of 15 or 20, you have a chance of them all being rational, sane human beings who make good choices.
Let's hope. Yes. That's good point. Good point. Good point. Yeah, hopefully maybe our paths will cross and we will work together again one day. That would be amazing.
Well, I'm doing a lot of projects here, and a lot of them are looking at involving a U.S. network as a co-production partner, and that would likely involve bringing in some U.S. cast. Now, where would I find like a celebrity who's up for anything, who might be part of? Okay, I'm going to pitch you this right now. How about a group of celebrities who are recovering from serious illnesses and come to New Zealand to be able to breathe again and rediscover the mojo in their life?
You're on to something, because I've told Dave that I want to just get out of here and go to Thailand. It's like what I want to do, and just sort of disappear from all of it for a while. It's like
I heard you talking Thailand, but I will tell you, Thailand is pretty intense, and I've spent more time in Vietnam. I mean, I've spent time in both, but I think Vietnam is really interesting. I don't know if you know, because it's a little more of an under the radar thing, but I did a documentary about the Vietnamese photographer that shot the photo that ended the Vietnam War. And he was actually just in New Zealand. We did screenings of it here. It's called From Hell to Hollywood. But it's so we went back to Vietnam with him. And I'd been to Vietnam several times and shot there, but I'd never like gotten the local treatment. I just think the food is amazing. It's still chaotic, but it's not Thailand chaotic. Although if you go up to Chiang Mai and find a lagoon, you can find beautiful places in Thailand too. You know, they're both great. What am I saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to go to Asia and like not come back for a few months. Like that would be my ideal situation. But
I would urge you to travel also with one or both of your daughters, because I think my parents traveled with me when I was young, and I really feel like it opened my mind up to the world.
Yes.
And it was, I mean, we did crazy like backpacking through India stuff. And my dad had sent a letter to the Dalai Lama and asked for an audience, and we got one because it was before he was like super cool.
Uh-huh.
Knew about him. So like, you never know. The answers are Neil deGroot, who's the director of Uncharted, always says the answer is always no if you don't ask. He says that right before he asks for something like a crane. but I think that if you do a trip like that and you just start reaching out to people, then you find out, you know, oh, it turns out there's like Charles in Charge fans in Bangkok who want you to be a guest at a school, or there's like things like that you could do to not be a celebrity, but make their day and make yours too.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good idea. Those are all good thoughts. Yeah, it rounds out your trip and your experience. And I definitely taking my girls. I'm trying to convince my older, because it's hard for her because she works. She's 26. She's at work all the time. So it's harder for her. The little one, I just pull her out of school. People are like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yes." Travel and experience is so much more and so much more valuable to her than what she learned that day in history or, you know, math. Like, we can learn all of that at any time.
When you're ready to do that, you're going to hit me up, right? Because I have a black belt in travel now.
Yeah, I will now. You just dug yourself into a hole.
The crazy thing is, with all of Gordon's shows, the only thing that could get going in the early days of COVID was Uncharted because it's a small crew. So he had time available, unlike he's ever had before, because obviously one of the most challenging things with him is his schedule. And so we shot more Uncharted episodes in 2020 than we ever had before. And I was on like 100 planes, and we actually had to submit a whole COVID protocol that went through all the way up through the ranks at Disney and everything, which owns Nat Geo. And we shot mostly in Europe and the US, but scouted a bunch of other places. And I was on something like 100 flights in 2020 when most people were at home.
Well, were the flights like empty? Was it just you and the crew? Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of airlines kept running flights to keep crews going. I mean, there are so many weird things about COVID that a lot of people don't know. We were scouting in Panama, and there were all these cruise ships fully staffed that were out at sea because it was cheaper to keep them fully staffed at sea than to pay the port fees to keep them in port.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And likewise, they ran flights because they determined that when flights finally were needed again, if all the planes had been grounded for 6 months, it would take months to get them tested and ready to go. And the way to make sure everything was safe and we keep running was to keep running flights. There were still aid workers and different people and weird people like us who would travel on them. But of course, what we had to go through to get into all these different countries was really nuts. We just to give you one example, the first place we were going to go was Croatia, and this is June 2020. We got to the airport. We had cleared through the Dutch embassy that we could transit through Amsterdam and get to Croatia. The KLM gate attendants would not let us on the plane because they said you can't transit. And we said the embassy told us, they said, it says right here you can't transit. You can't transit. We walked around to Lufthansa. They said, well, we can't guarantee anything once you get there, but we'll let you on the plane. And we ended up getting to Croatia through Munich, and stuff like that would happen all the time. Sorry, one more COVID story here that was really good. We were trying to get from Portugal to Finland, and we go to the gate, and the woman says, you can't get into Finland. And we said, we have letters of transit right here, that approval from the film commission. And they said, no, it says right here, and the internet's never wrong, you can't you can't fly to Finland unless unless you own a residence or have a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend living in Finland. And Tara Williams, my right-hand spirit animal on the show, had been dealing with our fixer there, whose name was Tapani, and she said, I have a boyfriend named Tapani in Finland. And they said, okay, you can go. And I said, I have a boyfriend named Tapani in Finland as well. And they said, okay, you can go. They just, and that's how weird things were.
Yes. That's hysterical. Because not all countries were like, I think the US was so very like by the book, strict. And other countries, I think they're just so much, especially, a place like Finland where they're just so much more just down to earth, right? They're just so much more normal. And that's just really funny. I love that.
By the way, what passes for Finnish humor during COVID is you say you have to be 6 feet apart during COVID. Oh, so we have to move closer together. That's Finnish humor for you. The toughest thing during the pandemic for us was we had put our visa paperwork into New Zealand, and of course New Zealand was completely shut down and all visa activity stopped. So we had to wait till lockdown was lifted here to be able to complete our movements. But it was probably just as well to not move during the pandemic.
And did you guys ever like actually get COVID while you were traveling doing production?
No. Ironically, the first time I got COVID was when I was shooting long after multiple boosters in New Zealand. And it was, I was in a car with someone who started coughing, and then she came down with it a couple days later, and then I just said, "It's my turn." But I had been boosted not that long ago, and it lasted 2 days. We had to push the shoot a couple of days, but and then I had it. I had it earlier this year. Once again, a 2-day nothing. But I'm a fan of the vaccine and the boosters, and I'm regularly boosted, and so I know it doesn't stop you from getting it, but I do think it makes it less for an easier experience when you do get it.
Interesting. I don't do boosters. I obviously got vaccinated, but I just don't do boosters because I just generally, knock on wood, I don't get sick, says the girl with cancer. I generally don't get sick.
When you get sick, you're serious about it.
Yeah.
You're all in. You're all in.
And you know what? It's kind of the truth. Like, I haven't had a cold or a flu since like 2019, I want to say. And but like when I do get it, yeah, it's like bronchial and it's horrible. And yeah, my body is extreme like that. But so I don't get them because I just feel like I don't know. I just roll the dice because I don't really generally get sick, so I'm good.
I just spend so much time on planes and in places where I don't know where people have been and you know, be it Europe, Asia, America, everywhere, that I just feel like for me it's a necessity, but it's not for everybody, you know.
Facts. Yeah. I mean,
If
yeah.
you live the life of luxury in Burbank and you're not
just in my four walls, I go to the market, you know, this like boring sheltered life. I'm in this bubble of Burbank. Yeah. So no, I'm not getting to travel the world.
Now, I told you about I'm going to bring up something which I think you will have a reaction to. I told you I have a project that I developed with our mutual friend David Hasselhoff.
Oh yeah.
Called Bombay Watch, about him going to India to become a Bollywood star as himself. And we are going to make this someday. Like, we both love this concept, and every now and then we'll trade a text. And I think he would still be up for it.
I think he would too. And I think when you wrote that to me, I read it and I was like, I didn't know whether to take you serious or not. And I was like, but why not? I mean, that would be a perfect vehicle for David Hasselhoff. Like, I can see this. I can see this.
We've had some serious discussions about it, and it may happen someday. I developed another show with him when I was at New Line. My 4-year break from show running, where I was a studio executive at New Line TV, and had lunch with him at the Ivy with my development person, Aaron Crystal. And as we were leaving the Ivy, the paparazzi were all there, and he turns to Aaron and he says, "Do you want to get in the tabloids?" And he puts his arm around her. They go out together, and this snap. It was very fun. He had a good sense of humor about it. And he would also yell at Maps to the Stars home buses that would go by and say, "Hey, I hear David Hasselhoff's house is somewhere around here."
He's a character. A funny story is I called him to see if he would do the documentary. And he said, "Nicole, have you seen these people? I mean, everybody from that show looks like shit except for me."
Holy cow.
I paused and I was like, wait a minute. Is he kidding? Is he serious? And then he started talking about something else. And I was like, but they don't, David. That's the whole thing, is that no, people look great. And he just, yeah, he's so funny. He's just, he doesn't give a shit.
I love that man. He's great. And then I think I mentioned to you, I also, speaking of your past guests of this show, I developed a show with Brandy called Brandy's Brigade. It was like a Charlie's Angels thing. And it was Tracy Bingham and Angelica Bridges were the other two. It was the three of them. And there was a whole reel that was done. It never happened. But, you know, that's what happens with those things.
It's hysterical because I just traveled with those three. We all just were in Toronto together, that exact combo. So I could see it. I could see that show.
Well, if you're in Hollywood long enough, you end up seeing the same people at Starbucks or your local non-chain coffee shop.
This is facts. This is true.
When you come visit me in Wellington, you'll see we take coffee very seriously here. This is a big coffee town. I feel like I'm back in Amanda and the Alien at Cafe Retro. By the way, I was in Hobart, Tasmania recently, and they had a Cafe Retro, and I took a picture of it, and I thought of you.
I love that so much. Oh, that's amazing. And you know what's funny is we shot that was the place that was Perks from Friends.
The coffee shop.
Yeah, the coffee shop. The outside of it was
Right.
the facade they used for Friends for Perks, right?
Well, the rule for that film was we could shoot anywhere we wanted as long as it was on the Radford lot. So when we went out to shoot the Hollywood sign scene, it was a really big deal because we actually went off the lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this, but we completely screwed up the continuity because we had a semi and it had dropped its trailer, and we shot the semi with the trailer going up there. So the one thing off, we had to go with the skeleton crew and reshoot it. Now, the other cool thing about that film that came back into my life was IRS Media, the division of IRS Records, was the production entity. And so we had access to IRS artists for the music. So we actually had some pretty cool music from like very fun old bands like Over the Rhine and stuff like that. But we got Jane Weedland to do the score for the Go-Go's.
Yes. Oh, I remember this. Okay.
And then originally the main title sequence, we cut to Head Over Heels, and we ended up not being able to clear it due to mixed ownership rights, whatever, music licensing. And Jane said, "Oh, that's no problem. I'll write a new song that works with the same beat, basically." And she did Hey Girl, which became an original song for that. And then years later, I did a crime show for CBS called Pink Collar Crimes. And I asked Jane to do a theme song, and she did a song called Paint It Pink for that. It was the first time we had worked together since Amanda and the Alien.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, she's so cool. I just saw Belinda Carlisle doing something. And I love the Go-Go's so much. So much.
That was a kind of a big thrill because I was like, the Go-Go's were my college band because I'm a little bit older than you, Nicole. In fact, I'm a lot older than you. Let's just put it that way.
Wow. No, I don't know. I'm in that same genre. I mean, yeah, the Go-Go's were. That was like one of the first albums I ever bought.
By the way, I just remember this. You remember Stan Ridgway from Wall of Voodoo? It was another band of the era. They did the Mexican radio song. Remember that? Yeah. I really liked him, and he was an IRS artist, and I met with him about it, and I showed him a cut, and he said, "I don't think this is right for me." And it was really good because we didn't even know Jane was a possibility at that time, and she would have absolutely been our first choice. So all those things happen for a reason, you know?
That's right. Kismet is real. It all happens for a reason. It's funny. I sang that Mexican radio song recently within the past few weeks to my daughter, and she looked at me. She goes, "What did you just what did you just say?" And I was like, I had to explain to her that it was a song. She was like, I don't know if she believed me or not. Yeah. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I mean, what a great life you have. I'm so envious. Yeah. Right?
Well, and I'm honored to be on this show. I get all of my best beauty tips and hair tips from it. And I wish you and Dave would talk sports more because we have nothing but cricket and rugby here, and of course the wonderful Wellington Phoenix, our soccer club that I follow avidly. But I miss my LA sports, and I know Dave, you and I can talk offline about something.
You got it anytime.
I need some hot stove stuff from who are the Dodgers? Are they bringing Teoscar back? I mean, sorry.
You want me to answer that question, Nicole? I'll tell you what the whole
please.
Okay, so Teoscar wants to come back. looking for a 3-year, around $75 million deal. The deal is the Dodgers always work in deferred money, and he does not want deferred money. He wants that money up front. That's the holdup. Still say he's going to be a Dodger, and I think we get Roki Sasaki from Japan. We'll find out after January 15th. And the last one, my wish is I want the reliever Tanner Scott. I want the lefty coming in to join the team, and I think we're set.
Your wish list is my wish list. Sorry, Nicole, you can cut this out if it's not.
No, I'm into it. I'm into it. I love the Dodgers.
Well, it's really a pleasure, and I was really looking forward to this. I have so many fond memories about making that film with you, and it's funny how they've all come back since this Blu-ray re-release. It's also available like in various streaming platforms as well.
Amazon. I watched it on Amazon. That just popped up for me and was like,
I think I watched it somewhere with commercials, which was really weird, but they kept in all the swearing, so that was okay. We did do a PG-rated version of it, and all I can tell you, I thought it was so ridiculous because the swearing is so much a part of it that I made all of the cover lines be ridiculous. So at one point, Stacy throws his hat down and says, "Melon farmer," which was meant to cover for something else with similar consonants in it. So it was, but we just had a lot of fun with it. But I think that swearing is an art form, and you did it so gloriously. Have you ever sweared as much in another project as you did?
No. No, definitely not. And in fact, when I was watching it, I was like, wow, whoa. Because I still swear. I try not to, but I just can't help it. It's part of who I am. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And no, I think that's the one time I got to just unleash the F-bomb.
In writing it, it just felt like it was a fun part of the texture, and it made it. And Showtime liked it because they like anything that makes it look like it couldn't be on regular TV. And I did tell you got some festival play. This played at the Fantas Porto Film Festival in Portugal to a packed house, and it was very well received. And this was after the release, but I had taken another film there, and they had said, "We want you to come back and be on the jury." And I said, "Well, I'll come back, but I also have this other film." And so I went back and was on the jury, and it screened out of competition. I'm sure it would have won everything otherwise. Anyway,
of course.
So great to chat with both of you, though, and come visit me here in Middle Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there one time. I would love to go back, and I was like working through most of it, so I got to see a lot of really cool locations. But when you're working, you half see it, half experience it.
Wait, which of your projects shot here?
Well, I did. You know what? E sent me as a representative, as a host for the cup, the boat race.
Oh, the America's Cup.
The America's Cup, yeah. So I went and Louis Vuitton sponsored it, so like all wardrobed out in Louis Vuitton, and just got to talk to everybody in all these different amazing locations. So it was fantastic for that. I loved it. One of the best gigs ever. But it wasn't vacation.
We got the most Olympic medals per capita of any country, just so you know.
Wow.
Oh, is that right?
But we have 5 million people here. There's,
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And we're very big on our rowing, our sailing, and a number. We did very well this year, though, per capita.
Nice.
Like it.
All right. Well, great talking to you too, and I'm going to keep enjoying your Perfectly Twisted podcast and all of its beauty tips and Real Housewives talk.
And I'm going to keep watching your shows. Yeah.
Okay.
Jon, pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
That was pretty
cool.
Humor,
right? Like such a
great sense of humor. He's also very smart. You can always tell when you talk to someone, you go, and very, very smart. And before you joined us, we were talking Dodger baseball. So he just happened to jump in the square before Nicole did, and we're of course talking Dodger baseball, catching up. But again, spent time in Los Angeles. I believe he's a USC grad, and so he loves Dodger baseball the way the three of us do, I guess now. So, but great guy, great guy. That was cool, and I'm glad you brought up the Amanda and the Alien, because we've had so many people that write into your mailbag that always ask questions. And it's one. I'll be honest with you. When you said it's on Amazon, I'm going to watch it this weekend, because it's one of the things I haven't seen. I was about to say, Nicole, where can I see this? But you just said it. And then for him to talk, I know we made the day for so many of your fans that always bring it up in the questions about Amanda and the Alien.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's one of the projects that people constantly bring up and talk about, and it's a fun little bizarre, not serious, cheeky little movie, and yeah, it's great. It's such a good
Absolutely.
time. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. I know we've gone a little bit longer than we normally go,
Yeah.
and you have stuff to do today. So
Yes.
do you want to wish everyone a happy holidays and let you
I
get on with
do.
your day?
I hope everybody just has such a fantastic holiday. We'll be back in the new year. I will be finished with treatment.
Thank God.
Yeah, and I hope everybody gets rest and relaxation and has so much love and happiness. And we will see you soon.